السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار، مريرة والانتظار. طلع النهار على السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. طلع النهار على الدنا وعلي ما طلع النهار. ليل السجون يلفني وتضمني الهمم الكبار. والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار. والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار. ولكل آه لذة ولظى وشهوق واصطبار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار، مريرة والانتظار. رباه عفوك إن هذا القلب بالشكوى يحار. لا أشتكي لسواك لو شكت السماء دمعا بحار. روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار. روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار. لكنها أنات مكلوم ويسبق اعتذار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار، مريرة والانتظار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار، مريرة والانتظار. طلع النهار على الدنا وعلي ما طلع النهار. ليل السجون يلفني وتضمني الهمم الكبار. والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار. والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار. ولكل آه لذة ولظى وشهوق واصطبار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار، مريرة والانتظار. رباه عفوك إن هذا القلب بالشكوى يحار. لا أشتكي لسواك لو شكت السماء دمعا بحار. روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار. روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار. لكنها النات مكلوم ويسبق اعتذار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار، مريرة والانتظار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات، أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار، مريرة والانتظار. طلع النهار على الدنا وعلي ما طلع النهار. ليل السجون يلفني وتضمني الهمم الكبار. والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار. والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار. ولكل آه لذة ولظى وشهوق واصطبار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار مريرة والانتظار. رباه عفوك إن هذا القلب بالشكوى يحار. لا أشتكي لسواك لو شكت السماء دمعا بحار. روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار. روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار. لكنها النات مكلوم ويسبق اعتذار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار مريرة والانتظار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار. أنا والدجى والذكريات أنا والدجى والذكريات. مريرة والانتظار مريرة والانتظار. طلع النهار على الدنا وعلي ما طلع النهار. ليل السجون يلفني وتضمني الهمم الكبار. والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار. والآه بعد والزفرات شعري والشعار ولكل لذة ولظى وشهوق واصطبار السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار أنا والدجى والذكريات أنا والدجى والذكريات مريرة والانتظار مريرة والانتظار رباه عفوك إن هذا القلب بالشكوى يحار لا أشتكي لسواك لو شكت السماء دمعا بحار روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار روحي طليق في الدنا والجسم يحكمه الإسار لكنها أنات مكلوم ويسبق اعتذار السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار السجن.
We're going to request absolute silence. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good evening, Mulweni. We welcome one and all those present in this room this evening, as well as the listeners of Radio Islam International, the listeners of Channel Islam International, as well as those viewing via YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. We welcome you to the SA National Election Debate in Durban 2019. And this debate is brought to you by Radio Islam International, the Jamiatul Ulama South Africa, and SAMNAT. We have now enjoyed democracy in South Africa for a quarter of a century, 25 years. And on the 8th of May, South Africans will go to the poll for the 6th national and provincial elections. Up until this point, we've had 10 elections in South Africa, 5 national and provincial and 5 municipal elections. In 25 years, we've had 10 elections. That means that for you as a citizen of this country, every 2.5 years on average, the choice is given back to you, power is given back to you to choose who you think is most suited to govern your country and to take it forward. And that is the purpose of the debate and the discussion this evening. That instead of being armchair critics and sitting on the side, we're giving you the opportunity to actively engage. We've gathered for you this evening the top 5 political parties of the country, and they will be presenting to you what they have to offer. And you can then assess what is it that they have to offer. You will have the opportunity to interrogate them and to question them on their offerings. You'll also be able to call them out on their double standards, as well as, with all that is presented to you, you will then be able to make an informed choice on the 8th of May. Now, as we start off this evening, we look forward to a robust discussion, but we need to remind one and all that every person is deserving of respect. So no vulgarity, no derogatory words will be tolerated, no personal insults or personal attacks. We do not want people from the audience shouting out and disrupting one of the panelists while they are responding. Also, we will give you time to applaud or to show your disapproval. At times there will be, so don't interrupt a person and don't, take away the fair chance. However, I'd like to make it clear that when questions are being posed from the moderators, there will be times perhaps when the moderator will interject if he feels the panelist is not responding adequately or avoiding the question or not answering in direct manner. And I'd like to make it clear that violation of any of what I've outlined, we will then promptly eject you from the debate hall. I'd like to welcome our panelists this evening. From the ANC, we have John Jeffrey, who is the Deputy Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development. John, good evening to you and welcome. We then have from the DA, Dr. Imran Kika, who is the member of the KZN Provincial Legislature. Dr. Imran, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. From the EFF, we have Vusi Koza, who is the provincial chairperson of the EFF KZN, also a member of the provincial legislature. Vusi, good evening to you and welcome.
Good evening to you and good evening to the viewers at home.
Then from the IFP, we have Mkoleko Shlegwa, who is the national spokesperson. Mkoleko, good evening to you and welcome.
Thank you much. Good evening.
And from the NFP, we have Happy Kuzwayo, who serves in the KZN legislature. Happy, good evening to you and welcome.
Good evening to you and to all the listeners all over internationally where the radio broadcast reaches. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, she has outlined where does the radio broadcast, and it does reach the entire South Africa, Southern Africa, and on DSTV via our channel 826, we are able to broadcast to a large part of the African continent. I'd like to outline the format. In the first segment, I'm going to give our panelists 2 minutes of uninterrupted time where they will have the opportunity to present to you what is it that they have to offer. After which, I will then ask each one a question based on their manifesto, which I'll give them roughly a minute to respond. After that first round, I will then hand over to Mulana Suleiman Ravat, who will then question them on a variety of issues. He will ask 2 or 3 questions each, and he will give them approximately 30 seconds to a minute to respond. We will then move over to Mulana Junaid Kirsani, who will take questions from the floor for about 10 minutes, and then we will come back to Mulana Suleiman, who will then ask the panelists another round of questions. And then towards the end of the program, we'll give each of the panelists about 30 seconds to give their final comments. And then we will have Dr. Faisal Suleiman of SAMNET giving his closing remarks. And that is how the program will end off. So we begin first and foremost with the ANC. John Jeffrey, we give you 2 minutes to outline to the South African electorate, what is it that you have to offer them?
Should I stand up? Up to you. Okay, I think I'd rather stand up. Good evening, everybody, and everybody who's listening. Our manifesto is based on the theme of Let's Grow South Africa Together. And what that basically means is we're looking forward, we're looking to the future, but we're also looking at working together. We're not expecting the people of South Africa just to cast their vote and then leave it to government, but actually to continue working with us in the program. As the ANC, we've got a long history. It's a history of non-racialism, of the contribution of many different communities in South Africa towards the struggle for liberation. We have, over the past 25 years, substantially reformed and transformed South Africa, but we accept that we've still got a long way to go, and those are the issues that our manifesto particularly focuses on. We acknowledge that we've made mistakes and that we need to correct those, but we are looking forward. And there are 5 elements to the manifesto: transforming the economy to serve all people through interventions that promote a developmental path, growth path, more jobs, decent jobs. We've introduced the national minimum wage as legislation. We've now got to ensure that it is implemented. We need to address the issue of radical land reform, sustainable and radical land reform. We need to address the issues of the economy, the monopolies, and so on. The second leg is advancing social transformation that continues to make education and health our priorities, to radically improve access and quality building more homes, social grants, etc. Then it's stepping up the fight against corruption throughout society and safeguarding the integrity of the state, rebuilding and renewing a capable and developmental state, advancing nation building and social cohesion, and lastly, building a better Africa and a better world. Thanks, that's my 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. We now move on to the DA's Dr. Imran Kika.
Assalamu alaikum again, and good evening to everyone. Ladies and gentlemen listening at home and everyone seated in the hall here, South Africa is a great country with great potential. For the last 25 years, unfortunately, we have suffered under an abusive, racist, and corrupt ANC government. While you have been working hard to build a better future for your family, the ANC politicians were working hard to steal your money. The Democratic Alliance, very simply put, says that this useless ANC government cannot even keep the lights on because they have captured Eskom, they have captured the state and stole billions of rands. The Democratic Alliance believes that it is the only party that can bring about change in South Africa, and we are saying that we will bring about this change with our agenda of change, and that is to eliminate corruption and state capture, to create an honest and professional police service that protects and serves South Africans, creates fair access to real and long-lasting jobs, secure our borders, and lastly, to speed up service delivery, and that includes basic service delivery, everything from your healthcare through your visible municipal services, and everything else that goes with service delivery. Ladies and gentlemen, the DA believes that we are the only party that can bring about this change. And where we govern, we have shown that we can bring about this change. It is not something that we just talk about. It is not something that is imagined. We have shown that by every one of government's markers up to today, set by the presidency itself, we have achieved and surpassed many of them, if not all of them, compared to every other province in the Republic of South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, this election is not about the ANC or the DA or anyone else. It is about you. It is about bringing change to your lives. It is about ensuring that the racism that the political parties, other political parties that seek to divide South Africa, the DA believes that we are the only party that are campaigning on uniting South Africa and uniting South Africa behind the campaign of one South Africa for all.
Now we move over to the EFF's Vusikoza.
Thank you very much. What is the EFF? The EFF is a revolutionary socialist economic emancipation movement. We are built on 7 cardinal pillars that are non-negotiable. The first one being that we intend expropriating all South Africa's land and put it under the custodianship of the government. Number 2, we intend nationalizing all the mines, banks, and other strategic sectors of the economy for equitable redistribution. We also intend abolishing all tenders because we believe the ANC that is so captured and so corrupt, the basis of that corruption is tenders. If you build state capacity and you do away with tenders, half or if not all the corruption will then be dealt with thoroughly. We commit to free quality education, healthcare, and adequate houses and sanitation. We also feel that the economy of South Africa will not be an economy if it does not benefit the indigenous people of African descent. The economy, therefore, of South Africa should be an economy for all. We believe that there will never be any freedom beside the economic freedom. So we That is why we are called the economic freedom fighters, because we are here for the economic emancipation of the majority of our people. We also believe in an open, accountable, corruption-free government, and be able to create a society where everyone lives without fear of government, the state, and other agencies. These elections, we have two things that we are fighting for: land and jobs. That's how we premise our election.
We now move on to the IFPs. Nkulekwa Schlegwa.
Thank you very much, and good evening to all the listeners. In our free democratic society, our votes determine our fate. The results of this election will have a far-reaching impact affecting this generation and the next. With the stakes so high, the IFP asks you to partner with us to secure the best possible future. With our proven track record of service delivery and integrity, we ask you to trust us, and we ask you to give us your vote. We hold South Africa to be one indivisible nation, a diverse society with a shared destiny. There is no secure future for one segment of society while another remains disempowered. There is no urban future that excludes rural communities. There is no industrialist future that excludes laborers. Our common destiny demands a high degree of common purpose. Corruption, especially in government, coupled with inefficiency and apathy, has eroded the capacity of government to deliver on its most immediate mandates. As a result, the most vulnerable amongst us have become robbed of opportunities for development and advancement. Levels of crime and violence are staggering, particularly against women and children. Therefore, these elections are about two choices. Either we continue on the trajectory of failure, or we go on a new path, whereby we want an economy that will service all South Africans. We want to reduce unemployment, which stands at 27.5%, which means that there are 10 million people who are unemployed. The ANC has failed to grow the economy. It's not growing anything beyond 0.7%. Corruption has become the alpha and omega of all interaction in government. Failure is the order of the day. Poor housing provisions for our people, a failure to manage state-owned entities, the collapse of Eskom, PRASA, Denel. You look at our healthcare services, if just here in this very province, they don't even have enough oncologists, hospitals are collapsing, clinics don't have medication. So at the end of the day, South Africans either continue on the path of failure that the ANC has given us, or they choose a new path, a path of the IFP, which says, trust us, let's work together for a better South Africa.
We now move on to the NFP's Happy Kuzwayo.
Thank you.
السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار أنا والدجى والذكريات أنا والدجى والذكريات مريرة والانتظار مريرة والانتظار طلع النهار على الدنا وعلي ما طلع النهار ليل السجون يلفني وتضمني الهمم الكبار والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار والآه بعد الآه والزفرات شعري والشعار ولكل آه
now. We want to make sure and ensure that they are prioritized in these jobs for the job where they qualify. How are we going to
السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار السجن جنات ونار وأنا المغامر والغمار أنا والدجى والذكريات أنا والدجى.
We thank our panelists for responding and putting forth to you now what is it that each one of them have to offer. In this particular round, we're going to ask each one of them one question based on their manifesto and what the party has put forth in the manifesto, and we'll give them roughly 60 seconds to respond. We'll begin with you, John. Looking at the party manifesto, there is the outline of unemployment and 275,000 jobs that the manifesto says the government would like to create on a year-to-year basis. Now we know that unemployment is one of the biggest issues in South Africa. We currently have 27% unemployment, almost 6 million or more people are unemployed in this country. Yet in your manifesto, you give very little detail. And if I look at your track record over the last 10 years, from 2000 to 2018, there's been a constant percentage of around 25% unemployment. So why should I believe that this time around you'll be able to bring down that percentage?
Look, it's true, what we need in South Africa is growth. It's economic growth that creates employment. Government on its own can't employ everybody, but we need inclusive growth. And when we've had high periods of growth, unfortunately it hasn't been that inclusive. The manifesto is quite detailed in outlining programs. Some of the work has already started. The President hosted a job summit which came out with a clear program of action. The President has also been busy and very successful in raising foreign direct investment in South Africa, which is something that will help grow the economy. So I think with those factors, they show we're on the right path.
We now move on to Dr. Imran Kika from the DA. In your manifesto, you focus on border protection, and there's reference to immigration. Members of the DA, amongst it Joburg Mayor Herman Mashaba and more recently Nelson Mandela Bay former Mayor Athol Trollip, seem to campaign on the issue of the borders, that the borders need to be more secure. Trollip posted certain pictures of the borders indicating that that is where the focus needs to be. We also had in the past where the Western Cape Premier, Helen Zille, had made derogatory comments about refugees that have come from the Eastern Cape to the Western Cape. Now, keeping that in mind, how do you reconcile what could be considered as a view from the DA being anti-immigrant and being anti-poor in a way, in the sense that most of these immigrants are poor? As a man of faith, as a believer, how do you reconcile that with your basic tenet of faith being that you need to be kind to others, you need to assist the refugees? We know that statistics are showing 1 in every 122 people in the world will be refugees, and much of them are Muslims. So how do you reconcile this position of the DA, which in many ways goes against the spirit of Islam?
Maulana, Jazakallah for your questions. Unfortunately, that's your interpretation of what you think the DA is up to when we say we need to secure our borders. So first of all, we welcome everybody that wants to come to South Africa. And we're saying that anybody that comes to South Africa, we want it to be very easy for them to come to South Africa, for them to come into the country legally. And for those that are here illegally, we want to make it easier for them to be documented, and so that they can be in the country legally. So that is the DA's position on borders. When it comes to how we will secure the borders, when it comes to how we will expand services at the borders, and what our treatment of refugees will be is a completely different question compared to what our general view is. Maulana, you will know that there is corruption in Home Affairs to the extent that refugees are ill-treated because they have to pay for their services. They are encouraged even to the extent that some women are made to sleep with people so that they can get permits in this country. That is what the ANC has reduced our home affairs and corruption too in this country.
Your time is up. We now move on to Vusi from the EFF. The EFF has perhaps the longest manifesto document, and one of the measures an EFF government would introduce would be compulsory critical thinking classes for all South Africans in high school. And it's a pity that that particular proposal hasn't been fast-tracked because when you look at the EFF manifesto, it seems as though that hasn't been applied. While the EFF is not a socialist party per se, their views on nationalization and anti-privatization is very much in tune with that. Now, I'd like to pick up on one particular issue of the manifesto where the EFF talks about a sovereign wealth fund which will be created to attract foreign investors. Now, I ask you, which foreign investor in their right mind would want to compete with the EFF's highly protected state-owned entities, pay the EFF's massive minimum wage hikes, and be banned from owning land?
It's very simple. Anywhere where such policies are applied, there are investors. I can tell you now, the investors, they've got nowhere else to go but to come here in South Africa. You must not listen to what the kickers on them are saying. The DA comes from colonialism and apartheid. They want to close the borders, yet themselves came here illegally. They want to come us and tell us who is here illegally. But I just want to come to the issue of who owns what. Investors will always come to South Africa. Once all the land is being owned by the state.
Silence, please, let him complete.
Once all the land is owned by the state, that will guarantee investors that they will pay less for land usage, and there will be guaranteed tenure, and the tariffs will be less. It will actually attract more investors than chase them away.
We now move on to the IFP. Looking at your poster here, you've recycled your 2016 local election slogan, "Trust Us." And that perhaps explains why your leadership speech, or your leader's speech at the launch of the manifesto, was longer than the actual manifesto document. It shows that your party lacks vision and doesn't really have much to offer South Africans at this point.
It's quite regrettable that you'd couch it in that way, and I think it's very short-sighted on your part as well to actually couch it that way, simply because the manifesto must be read in tandem with the speech, because the president was making a statement of commitment of the party. And secondly, manifestos on policy documents, they are supposed to be very succinct, concrete plan of action, very clear to access, read, and understand for the electorate. So to bombard them with 180 pages, you criticize the EFF, it's short, you criticize us, make up your mind. It cannot be that you're going to bow down to the whims of unwarranted criticism. And I think that the question that you ask is very, very short-sighted. Secondly, it's not a recyclement of the slogan, it's a continuation of an agenda. In 2016, we went into those elections with 2 municipalities, we came out with 13. People firmly believe in the IFP agenda, they firmly believe in our commitment and share in our vision. The taste of the pudding is in the eating, and the result 2016 show us.
Thank you.
And trust us is exactly that.
Now we move on to the NFP. On the 13th of November last year, the NFP voted alongside the ANC, the EFF, and the UDM in Parliament for a constitutional amendment to allow for expropriation of land without compensation. Now, I've read through your election manifesto, and in the election manifesto, there's no clear mention of expropriation of land without compensation. So what is your opinion on that particular matter? And what is your opinion about King Zwelithini and the Ngoya Trust, which holds 3 million hectares of land? You're not mentioning that. Is it perhaps that you're scared of trampling on the toes of the Zulu King?
Thank you. One must not feed the NFP the voice. The NFP speaks the voice of the people. Hence, we are saying we are giving power back to the people. What we entail in our manifesto is what the people wanted us to talk about. We couldn't talk about what the people didn't send us to talk about. If I may just give you why the NFP was talking to the people, what the people wanted to hear. That is why the NFP was speaking about growing the economy by saying we'll make sure that the taxi business people, their businesses are formalized so that they'll be able to build the economy for South Africa. That is the reason why we didn't speak about what the Ngonyama Trust is about, because the people didn't send us to talk about the Ngonyama Trust. We speak for the voice of the people.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of the first segment. I will now hand over to my colleague, Maulana Suleiman Ravat, who will then be posing to each of the guests a series of questions, and he will give them 30 seconds each to respond. At any instance, if it is that you are not responding to the question as been posed, then at that point, Maulana will redirect you to the question.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, listeners of Radio Islam International and all of those following us on the various platforms, social media platforms. I trust that you guys are enjoying the debate thus far. And thank you to all the party representatives for your time and for allowing us this opportunity to engage you. Now, I want to mention something about this particular round. In the previous rounds, party representatives were given uninterrupted time to speak about why you should vote for them, and they were given stipulated time in which to answer certain questions. This round, we are going to be asking questions that require very short answers, and it's going to be a bit more engaging, so understand that. I'm going to also ask party supporters here that keep your peace. You'll have your opportunity to make your comments, to disagree with the question, to disagree with the remarks. And I'm sure all of you have confidence in your party representatives in front, so they don't need any help from you. Let them answer the questions, and after that you can applaud them, or if you don't want to applaud them, you can voice your disapproval. But whilst the question is being asked, and whilst the answers are being given, let us respect the process, whether we like the question or not, or whether we like the answer or not. And let's appreciate this dynamism of our democracy, that we can sit here this evening, all of us as South Africans. We may belong to different parties, we may have different viewpoints, but we can engage one another in a robust but in a respectful way. So there's no need for tempers to flare, there's no need for us to get hot under the collar. We have put the fans on, and now and then we may make also a few remarks tongue-in-cheek. It's just meant to lighten the mood a bit, right? So we start with the ruling party. John, thank you once again for your time. Because the ANC is the ruling party, if you allow me, I want to give a bit of a synopsis before I get to the very specific question that I want to answer. Many people would agree, John, that if you look at it objectively, the ANC has not only made gains in the last 25 years, but they have made significant gains. And you have listed many of those in your manifesto. But I want to do a quick synopsis of two things: the state of the country and the state of your party. If we look at the state of the country, we've been downgraded to junk status in terms of the economy. Fuel prices are rocketing. Service delivery protests are common across the country. You've got Marikana, you've got Life Isitimeni, you've got SASA, you've got Busasa. You've got talk about most unequal society in the country. The SOEs are crippled, the lights are shut. Crime and corruption is out of control. SARS is a mess. And all of this under ANC rule. All of this under ANC rule. Thank you. If you look at the synopsis, that's a synopsis, a very brief synopsis of the country. If you look at the synopsis of the party, almost all of your top 6 are implicated in some scandal or some accusation or the other. When it comes to people on your list that are compromised, the only answer you have is that they have not been convicted in a court of law. Stalwarts from your own movement have come and said, how do you lower the bar to such an extent that only if people are convicted, then only we'll take them off the list? Where are the higher moral standards, the political standards? Your own former SG, a man who was the Secretary General of the party for 10 years, the Deputy President of the party for 5 years, is quoted as saying that the ANC has to lose an election before it can truly introspect. So that was a synopsis. Let me come to the very specific question that I want to answer. It is now the 6th time that the ANC is asking the nation for another chance. And if we look at it, in the last few elections, every time you have asked us, give us another chance, we've learned from our mistakes, we'll do better, you haven't done better, you have progressively done worse. The specific question is this, John. Honestly, why should the nation believe the ANC this time around that you will do better?
Said a lot. I don't know how much time you're going to give me to respond, but on the specific question,
yeah, just this.
As we've admitted in our manifesto, We've done good, we've also made some mistakes. So I don't think you can see the last 10 years or the last 20 years or 25 years. You yourself have said we've made important gains. Last 10 years, particularly on healthcare, when it comes to addressing HIV and the scourge of HIV. 1.2 trillion rand on infrastructure. I mean, those are factors from
all of that's
manifesto.
So what, progressively, it's been getting worse. Why should we believe you this time that it's going to get better?
Well, some things.
That's the question.
Most things have gone better. Some things there have been problems. So that's the issue. Where there are problems, we're addressing them. Let's take the issue of corruption. And I would say corruption is not an ANC thing. So you can have the other parties pontificating here. The EFF, I mean, their leader is mentioned in one of the early public protectors' reports on the point of tenders. The DA can pontificate, but unfortunately, with power comes corruption.
Right.
And so, you know, look at Cape Town, Knysna, Joburg, Tshwane, there's corruption there. So, but we are addressing the issue of corruption, setting up commissions of inquiry, improving the police, setting up a special investigating directorate. So we know what to do with the problems is the point I'm making and how to address them.
On the issue of corruption, right? Silence, please. Let's give John an opportunity. Silence. Thank you. On the point of corruption, John, right? The president, Cyril Ramaphosa, talks about 9 wasted years. Yet it's the ANC that at 2 consecutive elective conferences of the party voted Jacob Zuma, although they were warned. The ANC gave this country 9 years of Jacob Zuma. Jacob Zuma has not been called to account within party structures. He still appears at rallies. He's still embraced, and there's a lot of backslapping taking place between current leadership and him. Is the ANC willing to unequivocally apologize to the nation for the 9 years of Jacob Zuma that this party gave the country?
The issue there is, we've got the Zondo Commission. Let's hear what its outcomes are. Let me also stress that the ANC is a democratic party. It's built on the branches. It's not, and it's the branches who elect people. So things like the party list is something that's come from the branches. We're not like the DA, which has an electoral commission, and it's a little elite group which decide on who is going to get into parliament.
So John.
We're not like the IFP, with due respect, that's had the same leader for the last 40 years.
John,
yeah.
The NEC of the ANC had repeated opportunities to recall the president, Zuma. The ANC MPs in Parliament had repeated opportunities to pass the motion of no confidence. How many ANC MPs resigned in protest over Zuma scandals?
The president was elected president of the ANC democratically. There's also the issue. There's also yes, but there's also the issue of, and it applies to some of the people you would deem as suspect on the ANC list, a due process. There's nobody on the ANC list that I'm aware of that has even been charged. Okay?
So must we wait 20 years like we did with Zuma before?
No, we must ensure that there are prosecutions, that where crimes are committed, people are prosecuted. But let's also not have trial by media. You know, there are different versions of what has happened.
Concluding question on this issue. Thank you. Do you, John, as an ANC representative, believe that Jacob Zuma did nothing wrong and there's nothing to apologize for? Yes or no?
I'm saying let's await the outcome of the Zondo Commission.
As things stand.
Let's await the outcome of the Zondo Commission.
All right, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Dr. Kika, can we have silence, please? Can we have silence, please? Can we have silence, please? Thank you. Right. Dr. Kika, you good? You comfortable? Yeah. All right. The DA tells us that they are ready to run the country, okay? Yet, you lost Nelson Mandela Bay. You're hanging by a thread in Tshwane. According to a survey, Helen Zille is more popular than Musi Maimane. Your own party leaders have acknowledged that the Delil saga became messy. Your head of policy resigns weeks before the elections. Your own leader in the DA, Sizwe Mkhunu, says he's defecting to the ANC because the ANC has the machinery to run South Africa. My question to you very specifically, Dr. Kika, is You are struggling to run your own party, one province and 2 metros. How will you manage to run the country?
Maulana, Jazakallah for the question. You asked the gentleman next to me about Zuma, and he pointed a finger at the DA. Can you imagine the irony of that? Number one. Number two.
All right, thank you. People, let's be fair. Let's give him an opportunity. Let's give every spokesperson an opportunity to respond.
Number two.
Let's leave John out. People will judge him on his answers. You answer this question. You can't run one province and 2 metros. How are you going to run the country?
Allow me to, to allow that to lead into the next thing.
Okay, quickly.
The ANC since 2009, when Jacob Zuma came into power, has created a systemic system of patronage that is now ingrained in the DNA. We've inherited that legacy in the cities that we have taken over through a coalition. Now, when we took over those cities, we inherited corruption to the extent just like the ANC inherited from the apartheid government.
All right.
Now, what happened was...
Quiet, please. Quiet. Carry on.
We are in the process of cleaning those messes up, cleaning that corruption up. We took those cities from deficits to surpluses, and we are beginning to deliver services there.
Your short answer is this: it's all the ANC's fault, not our fault.
I'm not saying that.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying that we are doing what we are supposed to do based on the principles that we have to root out corruption. We deal with the corruption we have.
Let's be honest, right? The Dalil saga has got nothing to do with the ANC. You losing Nelson Mandela Bay is you got outsmarted in the politics of coalitions.
The thing is this. We deal with the corruption issues that come our way. We are unlike them that promote those corrupt people. We are unlike them where the corrupt don't get held accountable. There is absolutely no system of accountability in the ANC.
All right, okay.
We, on the other hand, have ensured that in whatever we do, there is accountability.
Thank you. Just before I continue, please, can we maintain respect of each other in the crowd, right? Let us not be offensive. We are all South Africans. We are all South Africans. We are all peace-loving South Africans. Let us respectfully disagree. Let's give the party representatives an opportunity to speak. Doc, one more question for you. You know, when Mufti asked you about the borders, you said you'll welcome anyone. Will you welcome Netanyahu?
Anyone is welcome who comes into our country legally.
Thank you for your honesty. All right. Yeah. Now, I want to ask you this, right, as a follow-up to that. Do you agree, it's a yes or no question, do you agree that the South African ambassador to Israel should be recalled and that South Africa should downgrade the status of its embassy in Israel? Do you agree, yes or no?
I can't give you a yes or no answer. Maulana, you must allow me to explain that.
All right, in 30 seconds, explain to me why you incline towards yes or no.
Maulana, I believe that we are committed to a two-state solution on this matter.
I'm asking a simple question. Do you agree that the South African ambassador to Israel should be recalled and that South Africa's embassy in Israel, the status should be downgraded? Simple, straightforward question.
Maulana, if it is downgraded...
Yes or no? Then you can explain.
No, if it is a downgrade, that means consular services will remain. Nothing will change. The ambassador will be sitting in South Africa and he'll be sipping wine till the end of his term. What it will mean is that everything else will continue as normal. Trade relations will continue. Sales from Denel will continue. But everything else will continue.
For the symbolic value?
For the symbolic value, Maulana, I was a student of a very great man who was the minister in Mandela's cabinet. And during the time that I was a student of diplomacy, he taught us one thing, that if you want to be part of the solution, you need to be there. You can't not be there and then claim to be part of the solution.
So those who boycotted South Africa during the apartheid days were wrong. If they wanted to be part of the solution, they ought to have been here.
We need to look at the official position of the country, Maulana.
Okay, thank you.
And we need to look at the official position.
All right, thank you so much. Let's move on to the EFF. Mr. Vuzikoza, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Maulana.
Okay, can we have silence, please? Can we have silence? On the issue of race, of course, many Indians are racist. Of course, many Indians treat the African workers badly. But I want to ask you a question so that you can clarify. Does the EFF believe that the majority of Indians are racist?
Yes, the EFF believes that the majority of Indians, just like the majority of whites, are racist.
All right, so why do you believe that the majority of Indians are racist? Explain.
Because Judge Yaqub said so, and there was no prohaha. a black child, Julius Malema, says it, then everybody is up in
No,
arms.
Judge Yaqub
Double
was
standard.
challenged. He was challenged.
Yeah,
Right.
but it was challenged, but he said it. But he was never challenged
his
at the
words
level.
are sacrosanct
Julius
to
Malema,
you?
no, I must also be allowed to respond. You ask a question, give us a chance to respond, so I'll respond. So then when Julius Malema says it, then there's brouhaha. We are saying that's double standards. But I just want to say that the things that Julius Malema said about the issue of race amongst Indians and Africans, he was actually talking about what the workers that he has met on the streets, in the factories, coming to our rally, coming to our offices, said.
Right. Now,
and he was saying
Judge Yaqub aside, double standards aside, you were saying that Malema based his analysis on what workers who work for Indians are saying.
And our members.
If you look at statistics now, in the Indian community, there are many are in the 6th generation. Most Indians are no longer corner shop traders. They are moving into different professions. They don't necessarily have people in their employ. So if you believe the majority of Indians are racist because of how some Indians in a particular area are treating their traders, where does the majority come from?
No,
the majority
hang
are
on,
no longer trading.
hang on. You are referring to traders. We are very much aware about that. But almost every second Indian home has either got a gardener or a maid, or so-called maid. So if you're going to talk about traders and workers in the trade, you are wrong. We've got to look at it holistically. In every second Indian home, there's an African that works either as a maid or as a gardener or in the shop. You need to look at that. Those are the exploited workers who work in the factories who come to us and say we are being exploited. We are called kefirs.
Right.
We are called all sorts of names. And that's what we are talking about.
Can a black person be racist, in your opinion?
Yes, a black person can be racist.
And if a black person ill-treats an Indian worker or a colored worker or a white worker, will you consider him racist?
A racist is a racist, black, green, or gold.
All right, because this is at odds. No.
Just like this one, yeah.
The reason I ask is this is at odds. Silence, 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 silence. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, the spokesperson of the EFF, is on record as saying, I did the interview when I asked him, can a black person be racist? He said no. Right? But that's why I asked you the question. Anyway, let's move on. The issue of land, right? It's a very complex issue. We can't unpack all of its dynamics in this discussion. Let me ask you this simple question. Who does the land belong to in South Africa?
The land belongs to the indigenous Africans like myself. That's who the land belongs to. That includes the Khois and the Sens. Everybody else are settlers here.
Okay, so can settlers own land?
Yes, they can. But that's why we are saying because of power dynamics and economic inequalities, a lot of other people, other races, because of apartheid, etc., ended up owning more land and Africans owning less land. That's why we are saying to correct that, we need to start on a clean slate. We must expropriate all land, put it under the custodianship of government, so that everybody, every South African of any color or descent can go to government and say, I want this piece of land, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 on it, and government will look at it and give it for equitable distribution. We are not saying take the land, put it under government.
That's
for
your policy, right? That's your policy.
Yes, that's our
but
policy.
currently, you're not in government, the ANC is,
yes.
Right? It may be a long time before you can implement your policy. They are constitutional.
No, it won't be a long time. We are amending the constitution because EFF brought a motion. It's going to happen this year, in this lifetime.
In the interim, what is your view then on people who take occupation of vacant and unused land? In the interim, before you nationalize all the land, what's your view on that?
Our view is very simple. We encourage any South African, just in the words of Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema, if you see any land that you like and is not being used, occupy that land.
Okay. So no parameters, no definition. Who does it belong to? How long is it unused?
As long as it is not being utilized, this thing of our poor people being locked up in squatter camps must come to an end. When other people have got vast tracts of land that's not being used, occupy land.
All right. Okay, last question to you, right? Silence, silence. You say any unused, unoccupied land should be occupied by those who don't have land, who don't have houses.
Yes.
Let's say I'm just being a bit humorous here, right? But let's say Malema takes some of his VBS loot. He buys a beach house here in Durban somewhere, but he's most of the time in Parliament. And if someone from a shack, from a township comes here and says, no, Malema only comes for 3 days a year, 6 days a year to use this beach house of his. I'm occupying it because I don't even have one house. Or Mr. Vusi has 3 houses because he earns whatever, and he's only using 1. Why must he use 3? He only needs 1. I'm occupying the other 2. Would that be fine?
That is a house. We are talking about vacant land. Get it very clear.
Let's say Malema owns a piece of land. Let's
Yes.
say he bought a piece of land, he wants to build a beach house, or he wants to build a block of flats for investment. And somebody from the township says, why must he invest? He's already got 1 house in which he's lived. I'm occupying that land. Fan?
If it is not being used and you like it, occupy it. And I want to come to this issue of VPS. I wonder how you get to give the EFF, VPS, the face of the EFF, when the ANC had to expel 9 mayors because of VPS. But because you are Stratcom, you are working for enemy agents, you want to give VPS the face of Julius Malema. How do you arrive at that when Ratau's report has never mentioned Julius Malema or EFF anywhere, but the ANC has expelled 9 mayors? You don't give VPS the ANC face.
We had a long list of issues
Double
attributed to the ANC
again.
for corruption, right? But anyway, EFF specializes in conspiracy theories. Thank you so much for your time, Vusi. Let's move on. We now go to the IFP. Mr. Mkhululeko Nhlengwa, thank you so much again for your time.
Absolute pleasure, sir.
I just want you to answer something on a point of clarity. I came across, can we have silence, please? Silence, thank you. I came across an article, I think it was in the Sunday Independent, written by the IFP's Naren Singh, that you're calling for the reinstatement of the death penalty. Is that correct? And if so, can you explain?
No, that's not correct. We are calling for a discussion on the death penalty as a means of a deterrent to the violent crimes. Women and children bear the brutal brunt of these killings. You've got cash in transit heists. Crime is literally shot through the roof, and we are saying let's review the basket of options available to the justice system so that we can be able to effect maximum sentences. So we are calling for a national discussion on it, and if it means going to a referendum, then so be it.
All right. The second question that I have for you is that we know recently Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi announced that he would be retiring in due course. He's been the leader of the party for many, many years. I heard in the recent interview which he did with the SABC, he said that he wanted to step down many times, but the party would not let him step down and they wanted him to continue. So this begs 2 very specific questions. Why did the party not allow him to step down? Was there not anyone adequately equipped to succeed him? What about succession planning? And secondly, okay, let's take that one first. Why did you not allow him to step down?
Well, in 2006, he indicated his desire to step down. The structures said no. It's the structures that decides who leads, and they felt that his leadership was still required at the time. So we can't grind against the grain of the wishes of the structures. And in 2017, an extended national council of the party accepted that he would be stepping down following setting into motion a roadmap to leadership transition in 2012, and that is in full swing. We announced in January 19 that Prince Buthelezi would be stepping down in July at our conference. What's the issue?
How long has he been the leader of the IFP?
44 years.
In your opinion, it's a straightforward question. In your opinion, is it healthy in a democracy for any party to have a leader preside over that party for that long?
In your opinion, is it not unhealthy?
I'm asking the question. I'm not giving answers tonight.
No, but your questions must be your questions must be anchored in rationality. The bottom line is...
So challenge the rationality of it.
No,
but don't duck the answer.
Whoa. The bottom line is there's nothing unconstitutional about it.
And I never said there was.
And therefore it makes it democratic. And therefore there's nothing wrong with it.
Listen to the question properly and
I
answer the question.
I did listen to the question properly.
question
The
is
thing
not-
is,
no,
I'm not going to give you the responses that you want.
No, I'm
I'm
asking-
going to give you the responses which are part and parcel of the party's political program.
All right.
We're not going to come here and bow down to your whims of your interpretations.
No,
The bottom line is...
Sir, with respect, let me phrase the question to you again, right?
There's only one anchor, man.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Only
the question
one
is
anchor.
simply this. It's
True.
not about constitutionality. It's not about what I believe or not. I'm asking, in the IFP's view, is it healthy in a democracy to have someone lead a party for 4 decades? Yes or no? You're entitled to your opinion.
No. Listen.
Let him answer.
Listen. In the first instance, this is not a multiple choice question because it's a political reality. So when you say yes or no, then you're trying to box us into an answer. We must explain this thing in its political context. And the party felt that at the time it made the decisions that it made, the leader was suited to the times.
Thank you.
It has set into motion a leadership transition, which is currently in full swing.
Thank you.
In July, Prince Buthelezi will step down.
All right, thank you. Let's move on to the NFP. Happy Kozwayo, thank you once again for your time. If we look at the NFP, in recent years, I mean, when you guys came onto the scene, there was quite a bit of hype. Your leader was seen as a rising star previously in the IFP. But in recent years, most of the news has been about the health struggles of your leader, internal leadership squabbles, etc. Many have questioned the capacity of your leadership, the capacity of the country, of your party. Can you tell us, in the last 5 years, what have you as a party achieved? What have you done for South Africa? Because we haven't been hearing much apart from your leadership challenges.
You are saying... Are we together? Okay.
Yeah.
The NFP, if you are saying we had internal problems, every party have internal problems. So it is not something that is new when it happens to the NFP. But if you're saying, how do we see ourselves as the NFP if we are growing or if we are not growing? Every party have defectors. You've seen defectors from the other parties, the party in government, the party which is the opposition party, because I don't mention other parties' names. I was taught not to mention other parties' names. So every party has its defectors. So we had our own defectors who defected to other parties, and those other parties had their own defectors. So our party is still stable, as we have seen on the 31st of March in our manifesto.
What has been
everyone
your
was
achievements in the
there.
last 5 years? Your party specifically, your achievements in the last 5 years? Political achievements?
I'm not sure if you're asking us as if we're in government or you're asking about our public representatives.
As a party, what do you feel you've achieved in the last 5 years?
We have achieved a lot because we had the number of public representatives that were representing us in parliament, and those people, some of them, we've seen that they've been planted by other parties, and they've seen that we are under their toes, and then they went out. But at the moment, the NFP has achieved a lot because we even join our hands with other parties to make sure that they are in government when we're not being able to be in government.
All right, thank you. Okay, that brings to an end this round. It's now time for us to go to the floor. We'll once again just remind everyone, let's be respectful. You can disagree in a robust way, but let's be respectful. And let's keep our points succinct. And we don't have time for lectures or sermons. You know, get to the point straight away.
Right, folks. Show of hands. Of course, quick and brief as possible. I'm not going to give you the mic. I'm going to rather come to you so that the mic doesn't disappear for the rest of the night. Go over, sir.
Can we go? Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Pastor Salvan Govender. I just have some questions for the ANC representative. Sir, in your opening statement, you spoke about liberation. I don't see the reason for difficulties after 25 years of governance. It's highly questionable of good leadership, and I think it's a total disrespect to the legacy of Madiba. When you talk about economy and economic stability, businesses and investors are largely affected by protests and load shedding, and they're pulling out of this country in support. Tell us about your strategy to combat regular protesting and load shedding.
Go ahead, sir. Next. Yes, sir.
Thanks for the opportunity. My question will be directed to the Honorable Dr. Kikade. A friend of mine yesterday told me that he went to and in the hospital there by the beach. I forgot the name. Edington, yes. He wanted to check his HIV status, but he was unfortunately turned back because he was told that he cannot be able to do that on a Sunday. He must wait for a Monday. Mind you, we're in KZN, a region that is confronted by high levels of people living with HIV and AIDS, but young people, when they want to know their statuses, they are turned back. This is the fate under this democratic dispensation. That's an issue on HIV alone. The second issue on health that I want to direct to you is the fact that in this province, young people have been, or people in general, have been killed by the oncology crisis. I want to know from you, what is your view on the state of health in general?
Shall we take one more? Okay. Go ahead, sir. I'll take you the photo. I'll take you the photo.
Thank you very much. My name is Sibongiseni Dlomo. A question to the DA, Kiga. The DA has two faces, but in particular Kiga himself. I can scroll here on my cell phone how many times in private he has applauded this government for saving his family. He stays in Newcastle. All his family members use Newcastle Provincial Hospital. The last delivery of his wife was in Newcastle because he has, if you have so much trust and confidence on this government and these hospitals, why, as you claim, you even send your wife there, but in public, they are the worst ever you can ever find. Number two, I can scroll here also on my SMS, how much he has applauded this government for saving his uncle, Etinkos Albert Lutuli, and this being the best government. If he had so much mistrust and lack of confidence, why is he using government hospitals for his very close, for his very best people in this country?
Okay. Yes, my brother. Go for it.
Political power, ANC. I just want to say something, wait. First of all, I don't want corruption is rife.
Thanks. One more. We have one more. Wait. We've got 4 so far. Don't worry, we've got a few more. Let's take somebody from the back. We'll come back to you guys. We'll come back. We've got more. We'll come back. Councillor Papas.
Thank you, everyone, and good evening to all our panelists. First of all, I have to say this because it's very close to my heart. It is a shame that Dr. Dlomo is here today, while 400 people and more have died because of cancer in this province. It is a shame that you stand here today. A shame. My question is this, and you can see by the boos the type of people that we deal with. My question is to the ANC. First it was 10 million jobs, then it was 6 million jobs, and then it was however many million jobs. And now you're asking us how many? 200,000. So every time we promise more and more, but now it seems as if we can't even make up what we've lost. So my question is this. If you've promised us and failed for so many years, what are you going to do different while our people are suffering without jobs? Because the people, many of them sitting on this side, work for EPWP and get paid less than 1,000 Rand a month. I know because they come to my office asking for jobs.
Let's invite the response. We've got another round of Q&A coming up. Let's invite the response from our panel and we'll come back. Quiet, please. Quiet. Folks, we can carry on all night. This is healthy. Please, minute of silence. Let them respond and we'll come back with the mic.
Okay. There were 2 questions to the ANC and there were 2 questions to the DA. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, people. Thank you. John, the first question to you was about your strategy to combat these service delivery protests and load shedding.
It was Pastor Governor's question. I unfortunately missed the beginning bit of it. You've had 300 years of racial structuring in South Africa since the arrival of Van Riebeeck in 1652. So even 25 years is a short time to try and redress those imbalances. So that's the general point I want to make. As far as the specific question, obviously problems have emerged in Eskom, the power utility, with load shedding. What we're trying to do is to address those and turn Eskom around, which I think we are making progress in. As far as your issue of protests, I'm not sure what you're meaning, because everybody has the right to protest. Obviously, we want as much participation as possible in municipalities, so people are encouraged to engage in the IDP process, the ward committees, so they don't protest. That's there, but there's protests everywhere. There's protests in DA municipalities, as we've seen in the last week.
The second question that was also addressed to you, John, was about the aspect of jobs. Yes.
Yeah, obviously the issue is about growing the economy. And generally the economy has grown over the last 25 years. The issue is and there's been a global recession in which we as South Africa have done better than many other countries in the world. Yes, we have. I mean, we've had very little negative growth or very little recession. But the issue basically is, and it's something I would put to you as a DA supporter, one of the problems is that business has not reinvested, because it's mainly white business that represent, that vote for you. They have not actually reinvested in South Africa to the extent that they should, shown enough faith in South Africa. So please help us on that issue of getting them to invest.
Thank you. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Dr. Kika. Doc, can we have silence, please? Silence, thank you. Doc, I knew you're a man of many hats, but I didn't know you're a man of multiple faces. The gentleman here says, sorry I didn't get your name, but he says you've got 2 faces, in that privately you praise the ANC to the heavens for helping your uncle and your wife in the hospital in Newcastle, and you come here and you'll embrace them.
Maulana,
the MEC file, my apologies.
Maulana, the MEC can't be more two-faced than anybody himself when he raises these issues. First of all, this man has been confirmed by the South African Human Rights Commission as a murderous human rights violator. More recently, the public protector has confirmed that he has violated, and his department has violated, Section 10 of the Constitution, where he has violated the dignity of South Africans and people of this province. As a result of him, 530 people in this province died. He presided over that. 8,000 people, we can't account for what happened to them. Yet he stands here and makes personal attacks on me. Let me tell you this about...
But now, you haven't answered the question about you being
two-faced. No, I'm going to ask you that. Maulana, my family uses public healthcare facilities. My family, all of them, including my mother, uses public healthcare facilities. My children were born in public healthcare facilities. If I did not have a medical aid, I would use public health facilities. And it is a result of my using the healthcare facilities and my very own loved ones that use the healthcare facilities that I have such a passion to ensure that healthcare facilities work. Had it not been for the opposition that we provided...
Your time is up. Your time is up, but you haven't answered the question. He's saying you praise the ANC in private and you criticize them in public.
Maulana, we are very clear. Where there are centers of excellence, such as Nkosi Albert Lutuli Hospital,
All right.
that is run through a
Thank you.
public-private partnership, we will say that you did well.
Thank you.
There are certainly certain
Thank you.
areas
Thank you.
of
Thank you.
excellence,
Thank you.
while the majority of healthcare in this province has been brought to its knees by this MEC.
Doc. All right, there was a second. Silence, please. Silence. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Doc, there was the other question. There was the other question with regards HIV that was supposed to. You've got 1 minute to respond.
Well, I don't need 1 minute to respond. It's very simple. It's a question of procedure. If somebody wants to be tested for HIV and AIDS, there are 24-hour clinics and there are service providers in the province that provide such kind of testing. One doesn't have to go to a teaching hospital to get tested for HIV. But the bigger question is this, or the bigger problem is this. At Addington Hospital, I have personally witnessed very ill patients being turned away from the doors of the emergency, which is against Section 27 of the Constitution, that emergency services cannot be denied to anybody. As a result of which people continue to die in this province, because this MEC here has been sitting. There's 10 years that have been lost under his leadership in this department that has been brought to its knees.
Right, so the questions that were asked were posed to the ANC and the DA. Before we go back to the floor, I just want to ask the EFF, the NFP and the IFP if they want to say anything in terms of the responses to those questions. I see you, John. I'll come to you. EFF or NFP or IFP, any comments you want to make on the responses given? Let's keep it short.
Yeah, my view is that the two gentlemen have got a long running battle in the legislature. They must go and finish it there. But the bottom line is that our health services are suffering. Our people are suffering as a result. The ANC has continuously failed our people. Corruption, they are unable to control corruption, and they need to do introspection.
Okay.
This thing of saying we are learning, they are slow learners, man.
Thank you. Happy? Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Silence, please. Silence, please. Silence. Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Two very quick points. In the first instance, there is no denial in the fact that a majority of health services in KwaZulu-Natal are in a state of distress. And no matter what the MEC and his shadow MEC can wrangle here, the bottom line is those in government have failed. Regardless of who the incumbent is, but they have failed. Whether it's in rural areas, urban areas, people are being turned back to go home with Panado. Ambulances are not available. We've got a cancer scandal in this very province. Secondly, on the issue of 25 years versus 300 years, yes, at a historic level and analytical level, the arguments that John makes may be valid. But the ANC was elected on a 5-year term mandate, 2014 to 2019. And if you have to judge them on that, what have we got? An economy that went into junk status, unemployment is shooting through the roof, and there's absolute chaos from A to Z. So whether it's 300 years, 25 years, the term we are reviewing now of 5 years has been a dismal failure for the ANC.
Happy, do you want to say anything? Yes, go for it.
As my colleague has said, that we don't want to get into anyone's squabbles that we know of in the KZN legislature. But as the NFP, we want to assure the people in South Africa that if we govern in this 2019, after these 2019 elections, we'll make sure that everyone have the mobile clinic, because we believe that people are walking long way to the clinics, and the clinics, when they get there, some of them, they close at 3:30, and we are not happy about that as the NFP. Thank you.
Right, John, I saw your hand. A quick comment before we go back to the floor. Yeah, I'll come to you.
Can I have the mic?
Quickly, John.
Yeah, sorry. No, it was just, sitting next to him, I heard Dr. Kika say that the Human Rights Commission, South African Human Rights Commission, said that Dr. Dlomo was a murderer. That's completely untrue. That's a lie, and he needs to retract it. He might have his own position on it, but the Human Rights Commission, I challenge you to show me where they said that.
Dr. Kika, quickly.
Molana, first of all, this health department has overspent in the last 5 years 23.5
billion rands. John's point.
Yeah, I'll come to
Okay,
his point.
okay, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'll come to the point,
All right.
Maulana. You
Okay.
ask, are you allowing
Okay,
comments?
thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You got a minute. You answer both questions,
Yeah,
right? Go
you're
for it.
allowing comments, so I'm
Yeah,
going to make
right.
comments.
Quickly.
This department has overspent in the last 5 years 23.5 billion.
Thank
rands,
you,
number one.
thank you.
Number two, the legal opinion that we obtained, and that is what I should correct, John. The legal opinion that we obtained is that this MEC should be charged for murder, and that this MEC should be charged for murder, or at the very least for culpable homicide.
All right.
That is the legal opinion
Thank you.
we have. But the Human Rights Commission has confirmed that he has indeed, with his department, violated human rights and access to adequate treatment
All
in
right,
KwaZulu-Natal.
thank you.
There's
You'll
no
show
question
the
about
report to John, right?
No, he hasn't. He hasn't said. What he said here is that the Human Rights Commission never said that.
Okay.
So he's admitting
All right.
that he didn't tell the truth earlier.
All right, thank
that
you.
That means
Thank
he's
you.
a liar.
All right.
Maulana, the fact
thank
remains.
You, thank
the
you.
fact remains
All
that
right,
the
people,
legal opinion
we'll go back to
stands
the floor for the
that
next round of
he is
questions.
a murderous MEC.
All right, folks, we've had a lot of representation from the right wing. I'm going to come first to the left, and then I'm going to come to you guys in the back, okay? Remember, quick as possible. We're going to try and give many people as possible answers. Right in the back here, Sisi.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tandega Makwaza. My question is based on an NFP. My question is, what is an NFP position in government? Number two, what is an NFP position in foreign investment? And why people should vote for NFP?
Okay, we've got that question. I'm coming here to the left, and then I'll come to you guys there in the back. Yes, sir. You got a question?
My name is Patrick Gumede. I'm from Ward 30. My question is based to Imran. Tell us about corruption in KZN department and how it affects service delivery. And I want to send that message here. Angazi noma akekho nongabona ukuthi ANC siphelelwe isikhathi. So fanele ngabe debate phakathi kwethu.
Thank you, thank you. I'm coming to the back to you guys over there. I had a DA guy, ANC. I'll come to you now, sir. In the back. Quiet, please.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. My question will be to Mr. John Jeffrey. I would like to find out how far we've gone with the downgrade of the Israeli embassy, as it's very close to my heart, the issue of Palestine. And I just want to make a statement to the man on your right-hand side. Is the DA anti-Islam? Because every time there's a mosque being built, DA objects. Thank you.
Okay, one more question.
Thank you. The fact of the matter is, in South Africa we have a crisis. Unemployment is a crisis in this country. About 10 million people in this country are unemployed if you look at the broad definition of unemployment. And the majority of those people are young people. Now the EFF come and tell us about their socialism political dogma. A political idea that has failed in Cuba, has failed people in Venezuela, but they want to come here and ask the South Africans to try this idea. But my question would be to Dr. Kika to say, in the last financial year, 75% of the jobs, even though we are going through a recession, 75% of the jobs in South Africa have been created in the DA-run municipalities. Maybe, Dr. Kika, please share with us some of the secrets the DA uses in where we govern to create jobs, and how and why we should South Africans trust the South Africans.
Okay, I'm coming to the two ladies in front right now. Just let me tell this lady I'm coming to you right now, okay? Yes, can you come a little bit front? Zakla, thank you. Sorry about that. Squeezed up.
I'm Hafiza Khan. The IFP says, trust us. We know that you were in the government between 1994 and 2004. What have you achieved for the voters to trust you?
Okay, in front, right here. Say anything. EFF, wait. We've got someone from the EFF.
Okay, so Jazakallah for the mic. I wasn't going to ask a question, but this is an open question to everybody, and the issue is about Palestine. And it's a very, very pertinent question in terms of what we are as South Africans, where we came from. And if you haven't been tear gassed or whipped or detained, you won't understand the plight of the people of Palestine. I do not believe in a two-party state. We need to get away with it. We need to be, I think, very circumspect in where we are with the issue of Palestine. So I want a clear and direct answer. Do you support the state of Palestine, as it were? Or do you oppose it, as it were? Genocide, or whatever the case is. There was a question from Maulana earlier about the borders. It seems like the DA is Trumpifying things. We really don't need that. The borders have always been open to everybody in this country. And in the days of the struggle, the borders of the other countries were open to our fighters and our comrades.
Okay, let me go to these ladies in front. They've been waiting long enough.
I just want to direct the question to the doctor from the DA. My concern as an Indian, we're from the community, and we received pamphlets promoting the DA. And you made a very strong statement on the pamphlets, and you said the EFF hates the Indians, okay? And we have the EFF that's sitting here who says we're going to work together with the entire country. Our confusion is this year. When you say that the EFF hate the Indians, and the EFF says they want to work together with you, and we know, according to, you always have the grapevine in the community. And they say that in the coming elections, you're going to actually be alliance with each other. So how do you become oppositions when you're running for a party, and then comes to election day, you're going to run alliances together? Are you confusing the Indians?
Thank you.
Question of the night here.
Yeah, I think my question would be directed to the Democratic Alliance. It seems to me you have, I don't know if I'm going to be very open by saying this, but I'd like to ask you, do you sit there and feel like you're a sellout to your Muslim brothers and sisters? Because when KwaZulu municipality took a vote on building a mosque, it was only the Democratic Alliance that opposed the budget. That's the first thing. When Palestine is happening, recently there was a massive Palestine debate and dialogue that happened. The DA never showed its face. It wasn't even able to mobilize for it. But you sit here as a Muslim. How does that make you feel? When you can't even stand up and say that what's happening in Palestine is wrong.
Thank you.
Okay. Pastor. Mufti Musaji. Should we go with one more?
Let's just take the answers here before we lose track of the questions. We'll come back. We want to give an opportunity to those who haven't had questions, and we'll come back to the repeat questions. But let's come to the floor. The first question was to the NFP about your position in government and your policy on foreign investment.
Thank you. Hello? Thank you. The NFP on foreign investment believes that when it comes to government, it will enact legislation that will ensure the prioritization of all South African interest in the awarding of all new mining licenses, and make it mandatory for all South Africans for shareholding where such license is granted to a foreign-owned company or enterprise. And the NFP believes that all the public representatives, the life audits must be done to them to make sure that they are not corrupt, because you will find that the councillor's life and the public representative, like the MPL's life, is bigger than the salary that is living.
Right.
So the NFP believes that it will make sure that the life audits of all the public representatives are done, so that their living, it correlates with the salary that they are earning.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
John, the question was asked of the ANC in terms of how far would the downgrade of the Israeli embassy, and perhaps you'd also want to respond to the point made by Dr. Kika that it would make no difference in terms of the overall relations.
Yeah, I mean, our position as the African National Congress is very clear on Palestine. We regard Palestine as having been colonized. We need to recognize both the right of the state of Israel to exist, but also, and more importantly, because it's being oppressed, the state of Palestine. So at our national conference at Nasrec, we took a decision that was in 2017 that our embassy in Israel must be downgraded. In May last year, we recalled our ambassador. That was when 52 Palestinians were killed in clashes with Israeli forces during protests over the United States moving its embassy to Jerusalem. And the Minister of International Relations over the weekend announced the downgrading of the South African embassy to a liaison office.
Okay.
Just let me finish. That basically she had said this office, the liaison office in Tel Aviv, will have no political mandate, no trade mandate, no development cooperation mandate. It will not be responsible for trade and commercial activities. It will focus simply on people-to-people relations.
Thank you.
So that is quite different to what Dr. Kika alleged. As usual, he's got the facts wrong.
All right, Doc, I'm going to come to you last because there are a number of questions for you. EFF?
The first issue I want to address is the issue of job creation. We are saying as EFF there must be massive industrialization with an emphasis on manufacturing. Currently we import everything, your teaspoons, even everything that your plate that you use at home, even toothpicks for that matter, it must be manufactured here. Number two, on the issue of Palestine, we believe as the EFF that Israel is an apartheid state. South Africa must sever ties with immediate effect with Israel, and it must recall its ambassadors and must have no dealings. In fact, anything that is manufactured in Israel must never be imported into South Africa. We must sever all trade relations. Lastly, on the issue of borders, EFF is an internationalist organization. We are saying anybody from anywhere in the world must be able to come to South Africa freely so long as they've got papers that allow them here, just like South Africans must be able to move anywhere in the world. We don't believe in those borders that were created by colonizers. Thank you.
Mkhululeko, IFP.
Thank you very much. In the period of governance in this province, we presided over successful establishment of local government, laid out a framework for functional municipalities to drive service delivery for our people. We ensured that the agenda of peace and stability was at the forefront of this province so that you could be able to create a conducive environment for businesses to operate and create jobs. During the dark days of ANC, HIV and AIDS denialism, it was the IFP and the treatment action campaign that went to the Constitutional Court to force MECs William Kize of the ANC to roll out nevirapine to prevent mother-to-child transmission. Had we not done that, a generation of young people would have been wiped out because of HIV and AIDS. So the massive program of ARV rollouts now has its legacy in the IFP. We roll out schools, clinics, sustainable agriculture projects. We established a functional youth commission in this province. We rolled out electricity and water. So our track record in KwaZulu-Natal speaks for itself, unmatched, unparalleled.
Thank you. All right, Doc, I'll try and keep it focused, right, because we want to go for at least one more round of questions. You were asked to comment about corruption in KZN and also about the DA's secret to creation of jobs.
Maulana,
we're coming to that.
I don't have to tell you about corruption in our province. It is for everyone to see that service delivery in our province has collapsed. We have municipality upon municipality in this province that is put under administration. The ANC mustn't claim it is them that is doing it. It is because they didn't do their jobs in the first place that these municipalities are put under administration. Sunduzi being the latest, they can't manage a small municipality like Utrecht that has about 3,000 or 4,000 people in it, that is currently under administration, yet they're going to put other municipalities under administration. When are they going to get out of it? Because for the last 4 years they've been dealing with that
jobs. Speak to us about the jobs question.
With regards to jobs, it is correct that as far as the ANC is concerned, let me tell you, as somebody said earlier, they promised this amount of jobs, that amount of jobs. 2014 it was 6 million jobs. They don't know how to create jobs because they don't know how to grow the economy. These two are inextricably related. So that's the first thing. Yes, it is correct that 54% to 75% of jobs created in South Africa in the last financial year were created in the DAs around Western Cape. The DA government has created, we know, of 640,000 jobs. We want to put a job in every home because we believe that jobs create dignity in a house rather than having people dependent on stipends.
Okay, now the issue of Palestine.
Yes, there are two issues, Maulana. One is the issue of Palestine, the other is of the masajid.
Let's take the Palestine
You
one
take
first.
the Palestine one. Maulana, let me put it on record that the DA unequivocally commits to the borders of 1967 and to a two-stage solution. Musi Maimane has said this to you before, and we are saying it again now, number one. Number two, we are committed to the end of the siege of Gaza. Number three, to the end of the illegal settlements that are there. And when John Steenhuisen came back from that trip that everyone is well aware of, he said to us very simply, he said to me when I called him to ask him about it, he says that there can be no two-state solution or peace or a lasting peace in that area if the Israelis do not leave the settlements immediately.
All right, okay.
I'm not finished,
Okay,
Maulana.
okay. The issue of masajid, right? They asked, do you feel like a sellout as a Muslim?
No, they were asking me about Palestine, so I'm giving the position on that.
Yeah, but now time is against us. Right?
So let me finish. We also are committed to Jerusalem as a shared capital, and this is what is the Durko position anyway.
All right, point taken. Let's move on to masjids now.
As far as the masajid are going, I don't know where people got the idea from that we opposed the masjid in Balito. Actually, that is nothing more than a damn lie, Maulana. It's as simple as that. I challenge anybody to go and pull up the council records. The Democratic Alliance did not. And
let's give him a chance.
If we want to query that, somebody should take the time to go and ask the Zululand Islamic Society what actually happened. Because they know what happened.
But beyond
so that's
Balito,
the one thing.
Balito,
The second thing is that let me tell you about a masjid in Lenasia that was shut down. Not only was it shut down, the ANC government, when it was in government in the city of Johannesburg, obtained a demolition order for that masjid, yet nobody batted an eyelid. That demolition order was only lifted when the DA-led coalition took over the city of Johannesburg.
Just answer this part because I know it's going to come up. Across South Africa,
yes,
seemingly, in most instances than not, when the issue of objections against masjids come to the fore, the DA councillor is implicated. Your answer to that?
No, that's not correct, Maulana. The question is this. We will facilitate any process. That means that if we are there as public representatives to facilitate what is legal. And we will work with residents as well. So in communities, you will find that the Ratepayers Association, in fact, in one instance I found, that the Ratepayers Association had objected to a masjid, and when I interrogated the membership of that Ratepayers Association, I had found that the chairperson of the ANC was a member of that Ratepayers Association sitting in that room with us, objecting to the masjid. So this is how things roll out actually.
Thank you. Right, quickly, John, I want to go back to the floor.
Yeah, just two issues. The one on the Kwadakuza Mosque. I'm reading from a Citizen article, Citizen newspaper. It says that all political parties except the Democratic Alliance had supported the building of a mosque on the site.
All right, thank you.
So I don't understand what he's saying. Also on the issue of, he can say the DA supports all these things, 1967 boundaries. What have they done about it? It's no use just to say we support it. Well, we've downgraded our embassy. That's something. But the issue is, what has the DA done about it? The DA has done nothing. It is lip service. Last point on the jobs issue.
Look, before you get to jobs, just to pick up the question from the floor, besides downgrading of the embassy in 25 years, what has the ANC done for the cause of Palestine?
We've engaged with the Israelis and the Palestinians, no. And then at issues like the Human Rights Council, United Nations Human Rights Council, we have no, it's not lip service. We have consistently voted on resolutions.
All right, thank you.
Can I speak?
All right, gentlemen, I'm going to ask you
So our international position is quite clear and quite strong in support of the Palestinian people.
Thank you.
The DA has done nothing.
Thank you. Let's keep the remainder of the remarks for the last session when you'll be granted an opportunity to wrap up. Let's go back to the floor.
Okay, we have a consolidated. Yes, I want to give those an opportunity to have an answer. We'll come back to those every time, okay? We have one to my back,
This is for the DA's information. DA has not only objected to in Tugela for the mosque building, when it came to Sancton, they went and lied to the ratepayers and got a petition done. When the facts were presented to them, They said the DA had lied to them. All the ratepayers turned around against the DA and supported the building. The DA lied also in Sandton. They also did the same thing in Rustenburg. So it's not one mosque in South Africa. Everywhere the DA is responsible. They don't see the freedom of religion as expounded in our constitution. They are the biggest culprits all over interfering in the affairs of the masjids.
Okay, we have one from a student representative.
My question is for Vusi Koza, right? At the risk of you calling me a Stratcom, Indian cabal, whatnot, I just got this question for you. We all are here because we have distrust in the ANC government and government by extension. So my question for you is that earlier you said that all land should be taken by the government and held in trust and distributed as it sees fit. Why should we trust the government with more than that? Why should we give the government more power? When even before you guys are in power, you are implicated with Mazotti, with cigarette smugglers, with VBS and all of that. Why should we give you more power? That's my question. With the land beneath our feet.
Okay. Do we have anybody else in the back? Yes. Pastor, I'll come to you right now. Anybody else from the back? Yes, one more.
This question is to the DA. You're also quick to criticize the ANC on all issues. We have DA ward councillors in our ward, and there is absolutely no service delivery. Absolutely nothing. Right? The other thing is, to answer that guy's question in the back, I don't know which municipality is under, maybe a DA municipality, if he is EPWP, is getting under 1,000 rand. Because I'm an EPWP and I get over 1,000 rand.
All right. Anybody else from the front? Before I go to Pastor in the back. Yes, wait, you're a turn, sir. Anybody else first time? Any first timers? Any first timers? Yes, doctor. Doctor in the back. First timers.
This for ANC. I mean, you're talking about downgrading the embassy and so on. But isn't it true that the trade agreements that have been made between South Africa and Israel are not affected at all?
Okay, in the back. First timers in the back. I'll come to you now, sir. Are you a first timer? Okay. I want to give everybody a chance to participate. Yes, Sissy.
Good evening. My name is Mary Applegreen from Sydenham. I just want to point a question to the DA. The DA is here in our Ward 31. There is no service at all. The only thing our councillor, DA councillor just spoke now when I was listening here. He's done nothing for the ward at all. Papas, yes. I'm a chairperson in Elan House. The only thing they know, they come and mess around with people's brains and go away.
Okay, Papas, you heard it today, right?
This is a question to the DA. Sir, I'm from Phoenix, and in Durban zone, 4 wards are DA wards. No service delivery. Right now, currently, there's a 3 places underground leak. I'm complaining to Lindell, I'm complaining to Tino, nothing has been done. Tino took the Go Durban project and he gave it to his wife.
Okay, this gentleman over here. We have another first timer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We know that education is a building block of any economy of any country. Now, we find that in South Africa, education has gone down the tubes. There is ill discipline in our schools. The school buildings are not being maintained. There is shortage of supplies at schools. What is the IFP going to do in terms of ensuring that education is restored in our country?
Okay, Pastor, you had your hand up first. Okay.
Okay. I just want to ask a question that maybe will be controversial, but I don't want to cause an uproar or revolt. To the ANC government, obviously, I have to pose this question to you instead of the panel. Yes, ma'am, he did say that if you were paying attention. Let me just pose this question to you, sir. I want to speak about religion. And in terms of Christianity, this country is deemed a Christian country. Now, this government, current government, has set out a commission to infiltrate the churches and look at their taxes and then to look at their stance at what they preach from the pulpit in terms of hate speech. Why touch their money? Have you not stolen enough money from the rest of the country? You're coming into the church now for the church's money. And then we look at dictating to ministers of the gospel or of any religion to tell them what to preach according to their biblical laws or their Islamic laws, and that, how do you have control of that as a government?
You had a chance for the second time because nobody first-timers put up their hands. Are there any first-timers that I want to give a chance to? Any first-timers? Nobody? Nobody? Councillor?
I was going to ask a question, but I think since my name is being mentioned in a debate that I wasn't invited to speak, I think it's only fair that as the ward councillor for this area I get to answer. Mary, you live in Eland House. For 25 years, your people have not had title deeds, and still today they still have not title deeds. And they will not get because your government wants them to be rent from the government, just like the EFF does. Secondly, there are ward committee members in this room here tonight who came begging to my office for jobs because your own ANC government is not able to create work. Number three, ma'am, yours. Let me answer. Let me answer. This evening, we have an ANC deputy mayor sitting here in the front row who is recorded having saying, I do not do service delivery. So when you ask yourself whether you live in, no matter where you live in eThekwini, why is there no service delivery? Remember this, that for 3 months, the electricity contractors have not been paid. For 3 months, the water contractors have not been paid. 36 million rand went missing in toilets. 100 million rand went to the mayor's office. Where are the title deeds?
Thank you. Any other first-timers? Unless Mrs. Peer wants to respond, I don't know.
We just have, this is the last round of questions from the floor. So whoever wants to ask questions, last round.
Do we have anybody from the back? First-timers. First-timers. I saw a gentleman's hands up there. Okay. Look, this is not the local elections, right? This is the national elections. Okay, I'm going to give the lady an opportunity to respond. Okay. Yeah. Right. 2 minutes.
Okay. This is not between me and Papas, but I want... No, just hold on. Just hold on.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, thank you. Quiet.
Order, please, order. Yes, everyone need to have a chance to speak.
Thank you. Ma'am, 1 minute. Thank you.
We as Ward 31.
Members of the DA. Thank you. Ma'am, 1 minute. Ma'am, before you proceed, 1 minute. Right, thank you. Ma'am, we don't want a side debate, right? I'm giving you 30 seconds. 30 seconds to make your comment. We don't want a side debate now between councillors. 30 seconds, quickly. Thank you.
As Ward 31, as he said, the EWP are getting less than 1,000 rand. That's lie. All the infrastructure here in Sydenham, in all the place that is carrying on now is the ANC infrastructure.
Thank you.
And what I'm saying to him is, been to my flat there. We unite the people to be together, whether it's IFP, NFP, DA and ANC.
Thank you.
But we don't want people lying.
We're closing the chapter on the council. Last 3 questions. Let's focus the questions to the panelists.
Please, folks.
DA supporters.
DA and ANC supporters,
right.
Please.
Thank you.
We are allowing 3 more questions. 3 more questions before we close it and we hand it over to the panel. Yes, ma'am.
Again, once again, I want to speak as a community.
Thank you.
No.
Thank
no,
you.
There are many second timers. I think you need to.
Thank you. Thank you. Right, people, we were doing well the entire evening. Let's end off on a positive note, quickly.
Okay, as a community person and as a community worker, I would like to say this here and I'm not pointing fingers politically, but when our people go to any councillor in their ward, they go there expecting to have a service delivery done. They go there with a full heart that councillor, whichever councillor it may be, that person will find it in their heart to have compassion upon the people, not to come on a platform and discredit and discriminate one of the people from your community that came and poured their heart out to you.
Okay.
This is not politically related. When the community gets together and say, we want a person to be a councillor, means that they have put their full trust in that particular person.
Thank you.
But again, I want to say this here. He has not just let down Sydenham. He has let down a community.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, I will allow two more questions.
Ibrahim Patel.
Ibrahim Patel in the back, first timer.
Quiet, please, people. Let's end off on a good note.
Right.
We had a good debate. Let's end off on a good note. Give people a chance to speak. Let's hear them.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm a small businessman, so I look things in a business fashion. I look at all of you at the table sitting as salesmen trying to sell me something. The EFF reminds me of a startup. Your branding is very good. Your product is still, you're trying to find your way on it, and you still have some time to go for development. The NFP and the IFP have got some semblance, and they support a bigger business that's out there. The DA is like a competitor salesman. When you ask them a question, they don't answer about their product, they will criticize the other person's product. And Dr. Kika knows I've asked him a few questions. My question is not on a local policy, it's on a national policy, because as a small business, the national policy affects me. And the national policy that affects me translates into affecting the entire society. So when I ask the DA about their economic policy, they're not able to apply themselves to answering it. So here's my question then to the ANC, which has become my obvious choice. The question that I pose to you is, given that it is not government's job to create jobs, it is government's job to create the scenario for jobs to be created by the private sector. You have some fantastic policies. What is the roadmap going forward to the implementation of those policies that will allow our economy to grow, to restructure, to give confidence back to investors to invest in the country and therefore create jobs? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll take one more question.
One more. Do we have a first timer? In the back? Do we have a first timer? Let's give everybody a chance, as many as possible. Any first timers? Going once, going twice, going thrice? Gone. Any second timers? No? No other questions?
All right, and we'll leave it at that.
Right, okay. Leave it at that.
Okay, we're going to start with the EFF. There was a question there from the gentleman about why should we trust government with our land?
Mike, firstly, when we say that the land must be put under the custodianship of the state, we are not talking about this rogue state of thieves. Ne? We are talking about the soon-to-be elected government. But why are we saying land must be put under the custodianship of the state? South Africa, up to today, still remains the most unequal society. Poverty is high, and we need to rectify that. All that is as a result of land dispossession of the majority of the people. That is why we are saying land must be taken under the custodian of the state for us to be able to level the playing field and give everybody an equal opportunity.
Thank you.
On the issue of churches, the churches, we agree that as EFF, our stance is very simple. It's not meddling with churches, it's actually regulating churches. We can't allow a situation where there's money laundering, drugs money is being cleaned through the churches, people are fed, snakes and doom and nonsense like that, and we keep quiet as government. No, churches must be regulated so that they become a proper moral regeneration vehicle.
Thank you. IFP, there was a question about education.
Education is very, very important, and we believe that early child development must take priority for education for primary, secondary, and higher education, re-evaluate and capacitate rural and township schools that were previously closed down, ensure that there's provision for scholar transport and better pay and better working conditions for all teachers, including grade R teachers. We are focused on the development of high-tech classrooms of the future where learners are introduced to the skills needed by the job market, the reopening of teacher training colleges to ensure that teachers are effective and efficient in what they do, the regular maintenance and additional schooling infrastructure to include sports facilities, libraries, facilities for arts and so on, to ensure that we provide security at our schools and to provide adequate facilities and support. I just do want to point out two things on the questions that have been asked. On the question of land, the ANC and the EFF must be honest that the expropriation they speak about is, for all intents and purposes, nationalization. And we have seen what nationalization is done in Venezuela, and we are certainly not going to allow a situation where South Africa must collapse. Section 25 is adequate. It's a failure of government to actually implement its own policies for the people to access land. Thirdly, we have had to sit here and listen to the wrangling of the DA and the ANC. There's one complaining about a DA councillor that's not effective. The deputy mayor who's in ANC is also here. So obviously the problem of service delivery is with the DA and the ANC. So find a new home and vote IFP, because these two won't help you.
All right, Dr. Kika, the issue of the Senton Masjid.
Very quickly, his municipalities, the IFP municipalities are now under administration, so he should be the last one talking about service delivery. No, we don't govern any municipalities here, and all our other municipalities we have confirmed through service delivery projects that we have run that we have the largest number of clean audits anywhere in the country compared to any other province. That's number one. We have in Pretoria, when it comes to service delivery issues, I'll give you the real reason why you don't have service delivery.
Quiet.
And the real reason why you don't have service delivery is because your deputy mayors and your mayors haven't done what our mayors did. They sold the mansion, the mayoral mansion, and they built houses for the poor. Our mayors and our councillors have ensured that they will deliver title deeds and make people homeowners. We reject the coalition, the corrupt coalition of the ANC and EFF to change Section 25 of the Constitution.
Thank you.
Now, Maulana, let me come to the service delivery issue.
Very quickly.
Very quickly. The real reason why they don't have service delivery is because the ANC politicians have enriched themselves with people's ratepayers' money, and they've stolen that money to enrich themselves so that the people don't get services. That's the reality of the issue, and that's why the pipes under the ground are not working.
Thank you.
And that is not the responsibility of the Ward Council.
Right. John, there were three questions, right? We'll take them one at a time.
Sure.
The question from Professor Dengo that as much as the ANC talks about, being pro-Palestine, trade agreements between South Africa and Israel have not diminished at all.
Well, look, I quoted from the Minister of International Relations saying that there would be no trade mandate for the office in Tel Aviv. So I think that shows that we're not concerned about, or we're not selling out for trade. Also, the point that's important is that we have consistently supported the Palestinian cause at an international level. Nobody can doubt that aspect. We've supported Israeli Apartheid Week in South Africa, so I think our commitment to Palestine is quite clear. Maybe if I can then go on to Pastor Govender. Pastor Govender, please don't distort. You know we have a Chapter 9 commission. That's a commission, and it's independent like the Public Protector. They decided they wanted to have an investigation into these practices at the churches. These strange practices of swallowing snakes and eating grass. So don't come and say, because you know it's not true, and it's a problem to raise it, that it's government that's trying to infiltrate the churches and steal their money. I mean, with due respect, sir.
Right.
Secondly, you said that we want to tell you what to preach. No, we don't. We've brought out a hate crimes and hate speech bill. We've specifically granted an exemption for proselytizing. So please, Pastor, Speak the truth.
All right.
Then I think the issue is on economic questions. Let me first of all say this issue of the DA producing all the jobs is a myth. Okay? One person said it's in DA-governed areas. Dr. Kika here says it's Cape Town. Obviously, most jobs are in Johannesburg, which is under an ANC province, Gauteng, which may have a DA municipality, which is having its own problems. And by the way, Dr. Kika, you talk about a corrupt coalition between the ANC and the EFF, but it's your coalition with the DA and the EFF that governs Swane, that governs, well, they keep you in power.
All right.
They keep you in power. Anyway, on the issue of it, our manifesto sets out quite detailed plans on the economy. Can I go into that?
No, time is up. But I'll allow you that in your closing remarks, right? We're almost done, ladies and gentlemen. I want to allow Dr. Faisal Suleiman from SAMNet, who is a co-host of this evening's program, to make a few comments and to pose a few questions, after which we will go back to the panel for their closing remarks.
There's no coalition between the DA and EFF. No, we don't have any coalition.
Thank you. I'm not sure that we'll ask specific questions, but in the few minutes, for those at home who are missing this great theater, I'm just disappointed we don't have more overalls and red berets from the EFF, but certainly we have rent a crowd of blue and yellow t-shirts. I think, thank you. I think the one thing, and of course the vast majority of our listeners this evening are from the Muslim community, and you know, it's sometimes disappointing, and of course one hopes that there's more substance to these policy statements, but it's often a tool that is used just before elections. You stick out Palestine and hope that Muslims will simply you know, look at a party because it's pro-Palestinian. But of course, Minister Jeffries is correct. The ANC by and large has been very pro-Palestinian, and yet the NEL sells weapons to Israel. The BDS campaign has not really been endorsed by the ANC. You know, it's sometimes been, the ANC has spoken with two tongues, and of course the DA, when it comes to Palestine, speaks with about 6 different tongues, notwithstanding, I'm sure Dr. Kika's protest about this. When Vusi Maimani visits Israel, and Glenys Breitenbach and all of them go to Israel, and there's apparently a tender that was going to be awarded for desalination plants to the DA in Western Cape, then it's very hard to convince Muslims that your party is equitable as far as Palestine goes. But I also want to caution that Muslims voters should be taken for granted to that extent that you can simply stick out Palestine and make that the defining thing on which Muslims will vote and not vote. At the end of the day, all of us have the same concerns. Muslim voters are South African voters first, and I think we all want the same thing. It is also a sad reality that while, of course, the supporters here will get emotional, the politicians in front of us will shake hands, work together, one hopes, in the municipality and in parliament and in provincial government. And one hopes that they'll work together, which is, of course, better than shooting each other, as we've seen with some of the councillors. However, what is sad, and we've seen it in some of the issues, for example, raised with Papas and you know, the young lady at the back in Phoenix, is that service delivery has become along party political lines. In the DA, it's been looked after in their constituencies, in some of the suburbs, and in the Western Cape, the black areas left behind. And similarly, we've seen, as rightfully mentioned, the network of patronage in many of the ANC-run areas, and therefore service delivery targeted at that patronage. And I think this is something that I think all South Africans, irrespective of political affiliation, want to see done away with. You know, it's as we know, you know, Trump looking after Trump supporters only. So I'll perhaps, if we have time, raise specific questions after everyone has round up. I'm aware of the time, Maulana, but just to say that it's for great political theatre. It's a pity that, you know, this sort of interaction only happens before elections. When we do get to have MECs and deputy mayors and some of the councillors here, just to get a feel of the frustration of some of the voters. But let us not forget that this is political theatre, and much of what politicians say from whichever party really can't be relied on, or you really can't take them for their word at anything.
Okay, we have reached 10 o'clock and that was our cutoff time. So what we're going to do is allow each one of the parties to, in 60 seconds, give their concluding remarks, and Mufti will keep time. We'll go in the order that we have been maintaining throughout the evening, starting with the ANC.
Thanks. I think it's clear that the ANC is a party which respects and acknowledges the past that we come from, sees that unemployment, inequality, poverty are major problems for South Africa. We therefore have a manifesto, have a program which is practical, which is something that can be achieved, that we want to implement if we get re-elected. So this is not something that's pie in the sky. It is something that's carefully worked out. It's consistent with things like the National Development Plan and so on. On the issue of Israel, just to Mr. Suleiman, we are a partner of BDS. The ANC and the Youth League and COSATU and the SACP. So it's not correct. I'm not asking for the Muslim community to vote for us just because our position on Palestine, but because we can actually better govern South Africa.
Thank you, thank you. DA, Dr. Kika?
Jazakallah Maulana. Just a correction.
Quiet.
Just a correction for Dr. Suleiman. The desalination plant was not Israeli. It went to France, and one company just now from the Western Cape has a desalination plant set up in Saudi Arabia. Ladies and gentlemen, this election is about you. It is not about the politicians. It is about you and whether you get service delivery or not. Whether together with you we can get South Africa working. We know that the ANC is corrupt, it is divisive, it is racist, it trots out Palestine when it's election time and doesn't care after that, because it's, as correctly Dr. Suleiman said, the SOE sells, or its wares, Denel sells its wares to Israel at the time when it needs. And we have shown a credible government wherever we are. We have shown that we are able to deliver services. We have shown that 83% of the budget of the Western Cape is spent on pro-poor projects. And we are the ones that can get a government rolling and working.
Thank you.
And that is what our offer to South Africa.
Thank you.
And we believe that the ANC are unable to do this.
EFF?
As the EFF, we've always been pro-Palestine. We regard Israel as a rogue, racist apartheid state. We are saying people of South Africa must stop voting for history. They must vote for the now and the future. Lastly, this Tumamina thing, they want you to send the old grannies and madalas who are tired, who have no vision. Send the youth that will take the country forward, who have got energy and everything. Send the EFF, vote EFF on the 8th of May.
Thank you, thank
you.
Let
the pensioners go to pension.
Thank you. IFP?
These elections are about jobs, these elections are about the economy, these elections are about making sure that South Africa works for every single South African. So in the final analysis, ask yourself your question, am I going to have a secure future under the current government? And most likely your answer will be no. So change the trajectory, change how you vote, and give other parties, now like the IFP, an opportunity to build a South Africa that works for all, prioritize healthcare, education, ensure that there's peace and stability, fight corruption, which has become the order of the day, and finally, to the EFF, stop selling us a dream of populism.
Thank you. NFP. NFP, let's maintain silence. We're almost done.
We are saying only the NFP can provide a better life for the people of this country. The ANC is haunted by the corruption wherever they govern. The DA is also haunted by the same issue, including the EFF, right from their leader, who was responsible for bankrupting the Limpopo province and allegations of defrauding parliament. And the IFP, with the high level of corruption in the municipality they govern, like Zululand, Nongoma, etc., and poor governance, where they can't even spend their water budget. They need to learn from Vizet Kamakwaza Msibi, the president, when she governed the Zululand district municipality. So under all these practices, the future looks bleak. The only hope is the NFP. Give power back to yourself.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Silence, silence, silence. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, 1 minute, 1 minute. After the program is over, you can sing to your heart's content. Let me just conclude properly. Ladies and gentlemen of the panel, ladies and gentlemen from those who have attended this evening, on behalf of Radio Islam International and SEMNAT, we would like to thank you for your time, for the robust debate and interaction. And I think all of us need to leave with on this note, that irrespective of your party affiliation, irrespective of who you're going to vote for, each one of us has to continue to make an effort to make South Africa a better place. Thank you so much and good evening.